Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Star Citizen 4.0's progress is moving fast. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members, in particular to the very many channel members of late. Thank you so much for the support, it is truly appreciated. There is just too many to read off, it would take me a full video, but thank you so much. So first things first, Star Citizen 4.0 is now open to Wave 2 backers on the PTU. There has been 2 more patches since my last video, and along with them comes a new mesh configuration that seems to be really helping with stability and performance. Now the new configuration consists of 4 servers for Stanton and 4 servers for Pyro, with a total of 500 players on the mesh. And this new mesh almost allows for 1 dedicated game server per planet, with Stanton's server setup being server A for Hurston and ArcCorp, B for Microtech, C for Crusader, and D for the jump point and general space, or the space around it. And then on the Pyro side, server A is for Pyro 1, Monox, and Checkmate, Monox being Pyro 2, so 2 planets there and a space station. Server B being for Pyro 5, Terminus and Ruin Station, so 2 stations and a gas giant. For server C, that is Pyro 4, Bloom and Obituary, so again 2 planets, 1 space station, and then server D for the jump point and the space around it. Now playing this morning, and from what others have told me who have been playing maybe a little bit more than I have, it seems to be really doing the trick, with my client-side frame rate remaining very high, interactions remaining quick, and the overall server FPS being at a much more consistent level. Not necessarily a high number, but on average it is not low all the time, it is much more sort of mid-range. Now everyone else I've heard is saying that it's running very smoothly. Most of these comments were when the patch first went live, so I don't know if many of you are now seeing a bit more degraded performance, but for me playing this morning, it was beautiful. Now on the first of the 2 new builds, I did log into Checkmate and immediately got stopped by the elevator fail bug, and as I didn't have long to play, I decided to just jump off rather than recopying and then choosing a new location. But in the most recent build that I played this morning, obituaries, elevators and hangars were absolutely fine. Now on a similar note, I don't know how much of an improvement we can see to things like elevators or trams and such until the transit refactor is completed, as they are reworking this very old, very problematic system to work in a server meshing environment, which is underway, but probably on hold right now as most of the engineers were brought off to work on server meshing and get that optimized. But they will get back to it post 4.0, and this should make the transit system much easier to maintain and improve going forwards. But it was said just before this patch released that the elevators not working is a high priority on the blocker status for 4.0 and is actively being looked into, with extra debugging going on that night on that build. So I'm really hoping that this latest build has fixed that issue, and I assume it has, due to it now being in Wave 2. As they were saying, the elevators not working are a blocking issue. So now that it's in Wave 2, I'm assuming they have rectified this. Do let me know if the elevators are still problematic, especially in the Pyro space stations, but fingers crossed, we no longer have to worry about them for now. Now, this morning I was flying around Bloom, just checking out what missions may pop up, what the performance and stability is like, and as I was approaching a place called Bueno Ravine, I noticed there was a hostile player in a Polaris, so naturally I avoided it as I was in an Intrepid, and as I was flying over the mountains and seas, just looking at the different locations, I actually just randomly stumbled upon an 890 jump, upside down, dead in the water, like in an ocean, just floating on the surface, which I was able to land on and take a look at. Now this got me really excited for off-gridding once 4.0 goes live, especially in Pyro, as I potentially could have taken the guns and the missiles off of this ship and then sold them back in Stanton, especially as now ordnance is much more expensive. And on a side note in regards to ordnance costs, I am very happy to see that it now costs a much more realistic amount. Now whether they are too much or too little is yet to be seen, but this will encourage players to really consider when and how to use missiles or torpedoes, whether it's the best option to, and reduce spamming them. Plus, scavenging and selling them will be much more viable. You can make a lot of money just by selling the missiles. previous Off-Grid series and Zero to Hero series, I just left the missiles alone because they're so cheap. So it's great to see that. And of course, missions that require the use of ordnance will need to pay enough to replace them, and that is something that will be reflected in the mission rewards, as we will hear about in a minute or two. Anyway, as I was saying, I was exploring Pyro, finding derelict ships, and it was a lot of fun, especially considering the Pyro system just looks so much better in terms of visuals compared to the Stanton system, and we don't even have Planet Tech version 5 yet. But the experience I'm having, I think everyone jumping into 4.0, regardless of whether you're going to Pyro or staying in Stanton, the amount of updates and changes, not just in terms of gameplay, but the economy, is going to blow everyone away. It is a great patch so far. Now anyway, let's get to the patch notes for the first of the 2 patches that dropped on December 5th. This had the configuration of 3-3-500, so 3 servers for Stanton, 3 for Pyro, and 500 players, and this was the patch where I had elevator issues. Again, do let me know if you are seeing any elevator problems in this current build, but hopefully they're fixed now. Now, for features and gameplay, especially locations, there has been further outpost performance lighting and art polish, further interior and exterior Pyro station LOD and lighting polish, further contested zone lighting, shadow, and performance polish. Plus, they have temporarily removed the ring brushes around Pyro 4 for some reason. All I can think is it's due to performance reasons, but they will return. For AI, they have done further FPS AI combat and reaction balance, and further quasi-grazer animation polish. And in gameplay, they have added mining harvestables to Pyro's rocky caves, halved the repair costs of ship hulls. I do wonder how much that'll get mentioned, or if everyone's still talking about missile costs. They have halved the cost of ship hull repairs, and fuses have been repriced and added to shops as well, which is good considering there are many maintenance jobs in Pyro requiring these fuses, which were formerly known as the relays. Now for ships and vehicles, they have now activated the new, more advanced HUD on all ships. Personally, I love having this information. It's a little bit scattered all over the view for my liking, but it does also make it very legible and easy to see at a glance. So I'm not sure if it can be better organized or more aesthetically pleasing on the view, or whether that would actually just detract from the ease of seeing everything. But it's nice to get a lot of this information back on the HUD, especially when flying gets a little harder through gas clouds or at night time. Now on the core tech side for this first patch, there has been further dynamic audio polish, which I believe is just referring to the musical score from Pedro. It could be sound effects, it could be Walla, but I think it is just the music playing at certain times. Further particle performance optimizations, planetary terrain streaming performance optimizations, AI navigation performance optimizations, further networking interaction delay improvements, and ship debris performance optimizations. There is a lot of this going on with each patch in core tech of optimizing almost everything, which over time will just make it all so much easier to run. There was also 18 more bug fixes, 7 client crashes fixed, 6 server crashes fixed, a server deadlock fix, and a server memory corruption issue fixed as well. And then for the most recent 4.0 build, which came early in the morning yesterday, this brought with it the new mesh configuration of 44500, which certainly seems to be improving things. And for locations, as mentioned, further Pyro station lighting LOD and performance polish, further contested zone props lighting and performance polish. They have also updated the asteroid positions outside of jump tunnels to avoid immediate player collision. I can just imagine you're jumping through to Pyro for the first time and then slap straight into an asteroid. So happy that that's changed, as well as planetary effect optimizations and cleanup. And for AI, the quasi-grazer animations, which include further animations with hit reaction tweaks and new hit reactions, which is when they are shot. Plus, they have adjusted avoidance to further distance cows out. Now in gameplay, this is where we talk about the mission rewards. This is part 1 of the mission reward updates, where they are starting to work on greatly increasing mission rewards for all types of missions. And while there is a lot more coming soon, this build will see a major chunk of available missions in-game updated with much higher payouts. So really interesting to see how all of this fits within the rest of the economy balance with missiles and fixing your ship and fuel and components and everything else, missions should be paying a lot more. Now for ships, the 600i elevator shaft has had collision optimizations, and in core tech there is further physics performance improvements, jump tunnel lighting performance optimizations to reduce stalling, which is definitely important if you're traveling through a jump tunnel, further particle system performance optimizations, and ship kiosk performance improvements, plus 17 more bug fixes, 7 client crashes fixed, 4 server crashes fixed, a main thread deadlock, and a server deadlock crash fixed as well. Now, Cloud Imperium are cranking these patches out one after the other with more and more bug fixes, optimizations, improvements, and tweaks and tunings to the economy, to ships, to balancing everything. I am certain that they are aiming for 4.0 to go live this year, and at this rate it certainly looks possible, but that is not to say that as they open up to more waves, something can go wrong. I really hope it doesn't, of course, but what I am playing right now for Wave 2 feels very solid, and those main problems like elevators and falling through the planets have been drastically reduced. Hopefully they are done with, especially the falling through the planets. That is very annoying. And it's more just a case now of continuing to optimize and get 4.0 as stable as possible, get server meshing as stable as possible, fix any issues with the Pyro system and all of its planets and locations, but also make it as performant friendly as possible too. And for those wondering, in my videos, I have everything set to the highest setting. Be that high or very high, water is set to maximum. Clouds, believe it or not, I actually just stick on photo mode, which I know are just for taking photos, but I'm getting very decent performance with it being around 30 to 60 FPS planetside, and I'm running a 10900K, a 3080 GPU, and only 32 gig of RAM, and this is on photo mode, so I'm going to stick with it for now. When I stream, it does generally drop quite a bit more because my PC is struggling to keep up with everything, but yeah, it is running pretty well, and I'm sure this next week we will see many more 4.0 patches come along. And now that it's in Wave 2, if there are no bigger issues with the increased player numbers, then we won't be far off a live release. My guess, for those interested, again it's just a guess, just an opinion, Cloud Imperium will push it to either open PTU or live as soon as possible, even as close as this next week, see how that goes, and then use the remaining time to polish and optimize as much as possible so that it's in a good state for the holiday break, which usually comes around the 20th of December. Again, this is just an opinion on what I think they will do. As always, something can crop up that can stop this, but they are balls to the walls working on 4.0 to get it done, and this is such an exciting time to be following along. My hype is through the roof. I really hope they can get it out, and if they can't, so be it. It'll come early next year. But kudos to CIG for all of the work they are putting in, all of the tests that they're running, finding those fixes and bringing them out. As always, please let me know how you have found this most recent patch. What is your experience? Where are you? What are you doing? What's your setup? Get all that information, if you can be bothered, in the comments below so we can all see how it is generally going for everybody, because everyone's experience can be and will be very different. But with that said, if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, if you want to see me playing Star Citizen 4.0 live, you can do here on YouTube. I am now streaming on YouTube. I'm also streaming over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother. The link is below there. You are all more than welcome. I appreciate the lurkers, the comments, all the support, and just hanging out and chatting with me is more than I can ask for. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you'd like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and all of my channel members. Cannot do it without you guys, so thank you for the support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.